And I don't know. There's no part about this win for me that feels like Austin Dillon backed into one. It's not like a single Alex Bowman win. It's legitimate. It's 100%. Uh, the guy earned it, and especially after what you saw last year at Richmond, I while I wasn't rooting for him, I was pleased to see him get a win like this. What did you think?
This felt like his most legitimate win. As much as I hated watching him stretch the lead out, I yeah, I just it seemed more deserving than anything he's had before.
Following is a production of
The garage area.
All right, welcome into the garage area. This is our Richmond recap show where we saw Austin Dillon end up getting the win this weekend. And my pick, Ryan Preece, while being the pole sitter, did not fare so well. And Ryan got to see Denny Hamlin take home the victory between our two picks, but still not have a great night. A lot of mistakes made there in the 11 camp. Still ended up with a top 10 out of it. They had a lot of trouble on pit road. Did he get caught speeding?
Yeah, right after the slow pit stop, he got caught speeding after that and got sent to the back.
Yeah, okay. So the crew had issues. Denny had issues. Um, Ryan Preece, he ultimately his undoing was his brake failure. He ended up finishing 38th. But right from the get-go, they were kind of on a weird strategy, trying to save a set of tires. Right, like that was their strategy right off the bat, and I kind of thought that was odd because it seemed to me like if you were trying to save a set, you'd kind of let the race play out before you just tried to gain a set on the field right off the bat because you have no idea what kind of run you're going to have there at the end. And it would seem like track position would be more important than trying to save a set of tires. I don't know. It just jumped out to me as being kind of odd. What did you think?
Um, I think from what I heard from like the practice details and stuff, because I didn't watch practice and qualifying, but one lap took a half a second off the tires right off the bat. Qualifying their second laps were a half second slower. So I think they knew how much tires were going to mean if they got a late caution. If they played normal strategy, splitting the stages all in threes or twos or threes, that they were going to use their allotment. So they figured they'd probably give up stage one to save the tires for the final stage if a caution came out.
Yeah, I get what they were trying to do. It just seems like we didn't get a late caution, and you're setting up your entire race banking on that happening, right? I mean, that's basically their strategy.
I guess. I mean, it's pretty rare they don't get a caution, but
But again, we didn't see one. And last year you wouldn't have had Stenhouse not been an idiot. I don't know. It just seems weird to set up your whole race right off the bat for, oh yeah, we're gonna play for getting a late race caution. I just feel like that saving a set of tires is something you could have developed later in the race as you kind of had a feel for how things were going. It just struck me as odd that right off the bat they were, yep, we're gonna two stop stage one and save a set.
yeah, I mean, Chase Elliott did the same
I don't know.
thing, whatnot, but um,
How'd that work out?
well, I think the pit road penalties is what hurt Chase Elliott, but the Priest was back in the top 10 after that stage, so I don't think that strategy is what really hurt him.
Yeah, but he kept losing ground the whole time.
I don't know if that's when the brake issue started or what
I
happened and
guess that's true.
transpired there, but
That could be.
so I
That
remember
could
seeing
be.
Priest running. I swear he could have been near top five, near the lead. Maybe it was due to others pitting and strategy and stuff. But I felt like he still had a fast car, but I'm not sure when the brake started fading because I felt like he was in the top 10 at one restart and then he was back 18th and back. So I don't know if that's when the brakes started going bad or what. But I don't know if that was his end all. But
Yeah, he let me see here. One, two, three. Looks like he finished sixth in stage two. Um, yeah, you're right. He would get, close. He never got the lead back though. Like he'd be up front, and yeah, he might lead on one of the pit cycles or something like that, but he wasn't the true leader ever again after he got on that strategy, and he just slowly kept working his way back. Again, you could be right that the brake issues were starting to creep up at that point. But I don't know, it just didn't seem like a winning strategy from the beginning. And to defend the strategy, you're going to tell me that Chase Elliott was on it? You Chase sexuals hate Alan Gustafson in a strategy.
I mean, had Chase Elliott not sped on pit road, he'd have been still in the top 10 with an extra set of tires. I'd have been fine with that. Or sorry, he didn't speed on pit road. It was he clipped a crew member on coming into pit road or whatever from the car behind. But that's what put Chase in the back. So um, I don't think the strategy is what screwed Chase this weekend.
But even if he hadn't got wrecked and ended up going to the end of the race, he was never going to have a chance to put those tires on though.
And he was still at a spot where he ended up stage one. So he didn't have a winning car. He was in the top 10. Um, he was like running fifth. He finished the stage just outside the top 10. He came off pit road 10th and probably been around that area anyways. I don't think that changed anything during the race and how the races ended up.
All right. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I am interested that that's your opinion, I guess. Um, I guess since we talked about our picks and we talked about your favorite driver, I'll just go ahead and hit Joey Logano. Finished fourth. Um, I never really felt, I shouldn't say that. I felt like there was a time when he might be able to sneak into that battle for the lead, just through the way that strategy might play out. Did you think that Logano had a shot at the win? Like, were you nervous you were going to see a 22 victory?
I tell you the truth, I didn't even realize he finished fourth. To me, he was off my radar. So um, until you said that, I remember him being top 10-ish, but winning the race, I didn't really seem as a threat. So
He
he's not
kept kind
somebody
of
I pay
creeping forward.
attention to, but either. So
Yeah, I get that. He kind of kept creeping forward on the pit strategy, and I kept thinking, boy, he keeps getting closer to the front. He might have an opportunity to race for it here. But he eventually said that, he had a slow tire leak at the end and was causing him to not have the correct amount of grip there that he needed to go up there and race for the lead. Ultimately ended up finishing fourth. Um, so yeah, that kind of hits everything. Your pick, your favorite driver, my pick, my favorite driver. Um, Denny finishes 10th, Priest finishes 38th. What's that do for us in points?
I believe I now have a 9 point lead on you.
9 point lead. And of course, I get the first pick
Or
going into
it's 19.
a 19-point lead.
Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, I get the lead going into, a plate track like Daytona where it could be anybody and not going into a road course where it's a guaranteed layup that it's going to be SVG. Um, but I guess I'll have to develop my strategy throughout the week. I'll have to wait to see whoever qualifies on the pole and probably just pick them because I'm sure that passing will be at a premium at Daytona, which is a wild thing to say.
Whoever saves the most
Um,
fuel is going to pass the most cars on pit road.
yeah, wild. Dumbest thing ever. Um, the race itself at Richmond, well, let's hit the rating of the race first. I'll just say that in my opinion, I thought that this Richmond race was very good compared to any of the racing that we've seen. It exceeded my expectations, not for Richmond, but for the racing that we've seen so far this year. I think that the tire strategy had a huge part in that, and made it entertaining. Um, what did you think?
Yeah, I was far exceeded my expectations. Um, I thought we kind of made our pick video before the race on Saturday. I thought it was when you picked Ryan Priest, who finished 38th, and when I said in mine that Denny Hamlin would escape Austin Dillon and win, and he finished 10th, and Austin Dillon won, and you said that there's probably be little action at the action track, and I was like, that whole video was just the whole airball trend that's going on. And we said about everything
Yeah.
wrong on that in our pick videos. So um, to me, like if I had to give this race a number, I'll say 7.5 out of 10. I feel like this car still needs work, but this this race was far better than I expected.
Yeah, I would give it an 8, and you could talk me into possibly considering a 9, just because it it was very good racing, and tire fall off will do that. It'll produce a lot of really good racing. I noticed today that the Jeff Gluck pole hit 83%, and the best Richmond race in the history of the pole, which goes back to 2016, was an 85%. So this ranked number two on the list of all Richmond races in the pole. People were pretty pleased with it, and that's in spite of the fact that Austin Dillon won, who everybody hates because he's Grandpa's little rich baby, and that even in spite of that, people still thought that the racing at Richmond was good, and I would tend to agree with them. So I'm giving it an 8. Um, the race itself kind of came down between Austin Dillon and Ryan Blaney, and I was rooting for Blaney, obviously as being a Penske fan, and I just as I was watching the battle and I was watching Dillon eventually pass him on the racetrack, I was like, oh man, Austin's got a really fast car. Blaney might be in trouble here. I was a little concerned about that. But ultimately, the point that my heart just was like, oh no, this is over, is when after Dillon took the lead, he immediately pulled down pit road to put his tires on. And I was like, this is it. He's going to get out in front of him. Blaney's going to run long. He's going to lose time to him. And I have no idea why Blaney didn't come down the very next lap. I feel like that would have been the thing to do. I'm no crew chief. I get that I'm Monday morning quarterback in this, and everybody that, watches football thinks that they're so much smarter than the coach. And I don't think that I'm smarter than the guys on the box, but it just Priest's strategy and then this strategy both kind of just baffled me is why wouldn't you just come get your tires? Like you need to stay as close to them as you can. You're close on the racetrack. Come get your tires now.
Yeah. The only other argument is they should have kept him out maybe longer and then had tires on the back end of the run. That'd be the only other argument I would have. But I think they waited too long to come in, or not long enough, and that was it. I think Bowman himself, who was coming up to the field, finished second. Evidently, he cut off like 5 seconds of time before he got up to the 88 and the lap cars and stuff when he was trying to get to the lead. I think he had nearly 10 laps fresher tires. He stayed out long enough to have better tires at the end of the race, but got caught up in lap traffic before he could make a run at him. Whether he would have caught him or not, I'm not sure, but that lap traffic still slowed him down.
Yeah, that definitely seemed like that was an issue, the whole lap traffic thing. Um, that's just what I don't understand is that you've run so many green flag laps at this point that you have lapped cars scattered throughout the whole racetrack. Even if you have fresher tires, you're going to have to burn them up going through the lap cars. I would just want to stay as close to the leader as possible if it were me. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Um, like we said, Dillon ends up getting the victory. Gets a legitimate win. I mean, he was a contender all night. He led over 100 laps. Uh, was no fluke win. Wasn't some sort of ran long on fuel strategy or anything like that. He earned the win, no question about it. Um, the worst argument that I saw on Twitter was that somebody was saying that I can't remember the crew guy's name that left JGR and went to RCR, and then now magically RCR is really good at Richmond. Uh, they said, well, he still doesn't get a legitimate win because he's got the Joe Gibbs setup underneath the cars. Dude, who cares? Like, you still got to drive it. And I don't know. There's no part about this win for me that feels like Austin Dillon backed into one. It's not like a single Alex Bowman win. It's legitimate. It's 100%. The guy earned it. And especially after what you saw last year at Richmond, I while I wasn't rooting for him, I was pleased to see him get a win like this. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that had Bubba not lost his tire, he would have had a fight for with Bubba at the end. But other than that, this felt like his most legitimate win. As much as I hated watching him stretch the lead out, I yeah, it seemed more deserving than anything he's had before.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he would have walked away with it. I think that Bubba Wallace was a very fast car. I think that when Tyler Reddick was up there, he was a very fast car. Um, but we'll talk about more about that in a minute. But I definitely think that it was an earned, deserved victory. A lot of people called it redemption. Did you feel like it was redemption? I think the kind of the preface around that is people think of redemption of being you got cheated out of something and then you went back and achieved the goal anyways.
Yeah.
And the
If he,
argument is that, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say that I think he feels that they were wrong last year for their win being taken away, or the playoff and the points or whatever that he got with the win, that he was removed from the playoffs. And to me, that was probably deserved. The way he won that race and taking out two cars wasn't the right way to win. And um, I just I wouldn't say this is redemption. This is just coming back and doing what you're supposed to do, win the race
Yeah.
clean and whatnot. They're making themselves seem like uh, they're the victim and they're the ones that were wiping out everyone else.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know if I'd say that it was redemption or not, but certainly a big contrast from what we saw last year. Of again, he was going to walk away with the win last year too until Stenhouse caused the accident, um, and then the restart master Joey Logano beats him on the restart, and he decides that he's going to go in there and just wreck him and come back across the racetrack and collect Hamlin as well. Um, the funniest thing that I heard was somebody said that Logano should have just parked it with 4 laps to go on the racetrack to bring out a yellow, just to say, yeah, you're not going to get away with this one without a restart at least, and that would have actually been hilarious. Logano should have been thrown out of the race if he did that, but that would have been funny regardless.
Yeah,
Um,
I was just like, I was waiting for there to be a caution. I was just gonna be like, this is gonna be deja vu all over again. But um, no, nothing, no cautions, no issues, and he brings home the win, which unfortunately puts him in the playoffs.
yeah, but who cares? He'll be out in the first round. Uh, yeah, the whole if he had to go up against a restart, I'm like, he doesn't really have anybody to worry about. I mean, he's got the hack Alex Bowman up there. He's not going to beat him on a restart. Who finished third?
Um, Blaney, I think. Yeah, Blaney.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, and I don't know. His tires might have been too gone at that point to make any kind of a run. So he might have still fared pretty well on a restart. I'm not sure. Although everybody would have came down pit road and got tires. I don't know if they had any sets left.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they had left.
Yeah, either way, we don't have to get too far down that road. Um, like we said, tires mattered a lot. I think we covered that pretty well. It was pleasing to see that. I liked seeing tire wear. It kind of masked the overall issue with the car. I heard Jordan Bianchi saying on the teardown that, well, this is it. This is what we've been missing. It's been tire wear. It's not the car, it's the tire wear. It's all on Goodyear's shoulders. They need to bring a better tire. 100% that's a factor in the equation, but it is the car. Like the car is the biggest problem. All we saw with the tires tonight was a masking of the real issue. And I got no problem with it. Like if Richmond raced like this every time we went here, you wouldn't hear any complaining from me. Um, but yeah, to act like the tire is 100% the cure, I think it is going to be on a lot of short track issues. But you still look at and see, like Alex Bowman was complaining about both Jesse Love and Shane Van Gisbergen saying that they were holding him up when he's trying to run down Dillon for the lead. It's like it's largely a can't put the throttle down issue, which if they were holding him up, you should be able to just move them. I get that you might not be able to use the entire racetrack to um, close a clean line around there, but at the same point, if it's a short track race and a lap car is holding you up, you send the lap car. Like that's just how this has worked for years. And he didn't even have the opportunity to do that. That's a car issue. That's not a tire anything. So definitely the car is still the issue, and I just think the tires masked a lot of that problem tonight or the other night. Tyler Reddick, who ran on the top two a lot, ends up getting spun by Ty Gibbs, who was hit by Daniel Suarez. Suarez ended up having a pretty decent night. He finished in the top 10, didn't he?
I believe so. Seventh.
Yeah. So Suarez surprised me a little bit with how well he ran, but I don't think he probably should have. I think he actually does historically run pretty decent at Richmond. But still, I wasn't necessarily anticipating a seventh place finish. Good run by him. Like we said, Reddick ran on the top two most of the night, uh, but ended up with that spin, smacked the left front off the wall, and it just never was the same after that. He had to finish like 35th, something like that.
Um,
This is a great podcast.
yeah, oh wow, yeah, 34th.
Okay. So he ends up finishing 34th after that accident. It actually ended up he won stage two. Is that right?
Yeah, stage one, and then Bubba won
Stage
stage two.
stage one. So 2311 had a great night going and it fell apart for both of them there at the end.
Yeah,
Kind of unfortunate for those guys. And now Tyler Reddick's actually in danger of missing the playoffs because of this. Um, with Austin Dillon winning, I think he's only 60 points to the good.
he is. That's yeah, Alex Bowman is 60 to the good. Tyler Reddick is uh 89 to the good. But
Okay.
he's say 29 points ahead of Alex Bowman. So for Reddick to be
Right.
knocked out, Alex would have to gain 29 points on Reddick and a new winner. So really, Reddick
Right.
gets a top 20 and he should be fine. Essentially, finish the race,
So
don't get caught
like
up in a wreck.
right. So Reddick just has to, he can't lose more than 29 points to Bowman if somebody outside of the playoffs wins, such as Chris Buescher, Ryan Preece, Kyle Busch, Ty Gibbs, AJ Allmendinger, Brad Keselowski, guys like that.
Yeah,
Um,
Cody Ware. But
no, I said guys that can win.
well, it's Daytona. I mean,
Cody Ware, Cody Ware can't even finish the race, let alone win a race.
I think
Don't be
his best.
ridiculous.
He's got a best finish of fourth, I think, at Daytona. So
Yeah, because everybody wrecked. That was it last year when Burton won, I think.
yeah. Well, we could get a Burton situation with her, with Ware up there. That's uh,
Maybe you could be right.
I
I
hope
don't think.
not, but yeah,
I think I would put more money on Zane Smith winning than Cody Ware winning.
yeah,
But I'm still probably not going to put any money on Zane Smith winning. Uh, so yeah, 2311 had a great night, and it all fell apart for him. Literally for Bubba Wallace, his wheel fell off, and ended up having. I saw people complaining that the 19 team put the wheel back on, saying that you shouldn't be able to have another team service your car. I get it, but at the same point, like, do you really want him to make a lap out there on the racetrack with three wheels? Like, you could end up bringing out a yellow. You could have some other issues. Just let them put the wheel back on and take your penalty.
yeah. I don't. I guess as long as it doesn't hurt Briscoe's crew, if they had to be pitting on the same cycle or something. I'm not sure exactly where they were at in the running at the time. See, he finished 13th, so um, I guess I don't have too big of a problem with it. He got his he had to do a pass through penalty because he pitted outside the box, so he got his lumps taken either way. So I mean, it
Yeah.
cost them a
Briscoe
win. I
ended up
would,
getting,
yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. No, you're right. That whole issue. I mean, it was going to be an issue for him no matter what. Like if he went back out on the racetrack or if the 19 team put the wheel back on, it was a big problem for the 20. Their night was shot at that point as far as racing for the win.
Yeah.
Um, but like you said, it not interfering with Briscoe. Well, Briscoe, I can't remember what point of the race this was, but he'd been shipped by Kyle Busch. I think at this point already.
Oh,
And
that's right. I remember that now. He was the We didn't really talk much about that wreck, but um, yeah,
Yeah, that's where I was going next. Is Kyle ended up causing this massive pileup. Uh, Turned the 19. The 11 was involved in the wreck. Some other, I can't remember who all else piled in there, but it was quite a few cars. And then as they were coming out of it, uh, it was Chastain that was coming off of the high lane and ended up hooking Elliott.
Kyle Busch is the one who hooked Elliott.
Oh, Kyle hooked him. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I guess I heard that Chastain asked if he was okay, and that's somewhere in my mind that made me think that he was involved in wrecking him. But you're right, it was Kyle Busch. Both. Did you find any fault with Kyle there? Not for Kyle started the wreck. There is
yeah.
fault there. But as far as him actually wrecking Elliott, did you think that that was something that you went, Kyle, you're a moron, or was it just two guys trying to avoid the wreck and didn't know that he was there?
I don't know because I don't feel like there was anybody above Kyle. But I never heard the crew chief say there was anybody below Kyle, or not the crew chief, the spotter. I never heard the spotter say down low until after Chiefs was like half by and Kyle was coming down the track like he was just getting done with the wreck and relaxing down the track or something. But I don't see it as anything that was like intentional to wreck somebody or anything. It was a racing incident. They were involved in a wreck and Chase was at the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you
Kyle
can even
definitely
make the
causes
argument.
damage in that.
Oh, I was gonna say you can make the argument that Chase
But
even came up the track a little bit at that point. He had a car below him, but he could have stayed a little bit lower also.
yeah, but I'm sure he wasn't expecting Bush to be down that low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I view it as just guys trying to avoid the wreck. It's unfortunate for Elliott that it ended up working out that way, but I don't really put a lot of blame on Bush there, nor do I put any on Elliott. I think it's just guys trying to avoid the wreck, and bad things happened. Um, William Byron ends up being the regular season champion almost by default, I guess. Locks it up with a race to go, and what's he got? Two wins on the year. He won the Daytona 500, and he won last week, wherever we were at last week. Where were we last week?
Iowa. Well, that was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Um,
Last week was Watkins Glen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Last week we had SVG at the Glen. Um, so Byron with his two regular season wins ends up being the regular season champ. Um, and if I'm correct here, as I look at the playoff standings on NASCAR.com, he is going to be the fifth seed as it stands right now in the playoffs. Obviously, Denny and Shane having the most wins on the season. That's got those guys 1-2. It's interesting that SVG is a two seed in the playoffs. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I'm not
Um,
sure if these points on NASCAR.com has added up the playoff points that are earned yet. Because
okay.
I think William Byron will get another 15 from this one. So that'll be like 20, 27 plus 5, 32. So there's some more seeding to be turned around yet. I think William Byron has like 7 playoff points from the stage wins and 2 wins right now. So there's still a lot more seeding left to do before the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't get too wound up about that yet. Um, until we get to the actual playoff point. I don't even pretend. I don't even pay a bit of attention to the playoff points, other than like just a second ago when I referenced them. That's literally the only time I've looked at those. But most of the time throughout the year, I don't care. Let me know when we get to the playoffs. We'll figure it out from there. Um, just looking at the regular points, I'm going to read this list of names, and I want you to tell me if you think that they could win a championship. Okay, you good with that?
Yeah, I
William
kind of know where
Byron,
this is going, but William Byron, yeah,
Chase Elliott.
no,
You don't think he can win the
he
championship?
just hasn't. He runs consistent, but winning these championships, you got to have winning cars, and I don't see him winning it. I mean, I see him better than others, of course, but it just to me he doesn't have it.
Okay. Denny Hamlin,
Yeah.
Kyle Larson.
I'm gonna say yes, but it's been fading.
Okay. Ryan Blaney,
Yeah.
Chris Bell,
Yeah.
Tyler Reddick.
I think this year he's been struggling. I'm gonna say no for this year. I mean, he
Chase
did.
Briscoe,
Yeah. Chase Briscoe is on my radar to win a championship. Yeah. He's been heating up at the right time.
Alex Bowman,
Probably not. No.
Bubba Wallace,
Um, he's been running pretty well too, but I don't quite see him quite as a championship level yet.
Chris Buescher,
This year has been a struggle for him. No.
Joey Logano.
Um, as much as I want to say no, I really think he can make a run. He proved it to everybody last year. So, but yeah, I think he can.
Ryan Preece,
Uh, no, as much as he's been the better RFK car this year, I just RFK as a whole, I doesn't put the performance I think he needed for a championship.
Ross Chastain,
No,
Austin Cindric.
you might as well stop because I don't think anybody else on the rest of the list down there can has a chance on a championship.
Okay, I was curious because I think that Cindric is like a sneaky guy that I could see him in the final four. I don't know if he'd win a championship, but I could see him in the final four.
Yeah.
The the thing that I was going for, and I saw it on Twitter, was it showed like five drivers, and I can't remember who the five were exactly, but it was like Byron, Denny, uh, Larson, Blaney, and one more maybe. And it said, "Why do we care about the rest of the playoffs when literally just these guys are the ones that could win a championship?" And then it was like a little bit of a follow-up, and also Joey Logano. Just because you've seen him do it in the past. Uh, as much as I hate this playoff format, people say that Logano wouldn't have three championships without it. You could argue that. I'd be willing to listen to that argument, but I also understand that they know how this format works and they're playing the game and they know that they've only got to show up at a certain time. I I get that anybody would win every race if they could, but if you could put all of your effort into races that you knew mattered when other ones didn't, that's what I'd be doing too. And that's what it just seems like that they do. They focus on tracks that they think that they can win at in each round, and somehow they just make it through there. And they're there in the final four and have an opportunity to win at Phoenix.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. It kind of just sucks that that's the way the format plays out for a championship.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't think it takes away from the guys that have won championships in that format. But again, I was thinking about this the other day. I think we even talked about it. When I think of Jimmy Johnson, I think seven-time champion with one that was kind of fluky when Edwards and Logano wrecked at Homestead and Jimmy was kind of one of the only cars left and ended up winning the seventh championship that way. Doesn't take away from his greatness. He's always going to be a seven-time champion, but that's kind of the one that ends up sticking out to you as being maybe not that not as prestigious as some of the others, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes sense.
I know what you're trying to say, but yeah.
Notable point scores from the race were Tyler Reddick winning the first stage, Bubba Wallace winning the second stage, and Bubba Wallace getting the Xfinity fastest lap. There was no Xfinity race this weekend, but you did mention that Connors Village is going to race this weekend in Daytona, at least as it stands right now. Uh, Corey Heim ends up winning the Truck Series race um, at Richmond. He gets his 65 play, ends up with 65 playoff points heading into the playoffs, as theirs is going to be starting uh, directly here. They race at Daytona or
No,
no?
they are starting not 2 weeks at Darlington with everyone else.
So does Xfinity start at Darlington too?
Um, I believe so.
So, so did they actually clean this up this year to where everybody's playoff race starts at the same time?
Um, Same date. Uh, nope, never mind. Xfinity has 3 races before the playoffs start.
Okay.
So Xfinity races Daytona, Portland, and then Worldwide Technology before their playoffs start September 12th. And then the Cup Series and Truck Series start after Daytona and Darlington.
Wow.
I,
It's
I,
almost like they kind of go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say I thought they did. I just looked at the Truck and Cup or whatever just to see what was going on next week after, or next week at Daytona, but I didn't check further on. So yeah, I thought it was fixed, but I'm wrong.
Hmm. I mean, it's almost like they tried to make a step in the right direction, but they didn't end up doing that. Um, all right. Like we said, Corey Jaime is going to go into the playoffs with 65 playoff points. That's more than a full race. Pretty impressive. It will be Cup and Xfinity at Daytona Friday and Saturday night, but no truck race this upcoming weekend. All right, as we finish up here, I just wanted to hit a few more of these topics that we kind of saw come to light this week. Um, we kind of already talked about this, but in your opinion, what makes good racing? Is it the car or is it the tires? Is it a combination of the two? What do you think plays the biggest factor?
Um, I think the car is the biggest factor. The tires can mask it. Although I mean, the combination of both is probably really the greatest of it. But um, when a car is so bad like we have now, you can really see how much the car makes a difference, especially on certain tracks when you watch a car pull up behind another car and then lose all their downforce they have on their car and shoot up the track in the corners. You can tell that I don't think the tires are going to fix that much of an issue. Um, but that's my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to see bigger tires, deeper sidewalls, not these low profile tires to where you can get a little bit of that sidewall flex to feel the racetrack a little bit better. Um, and yeah, I think that better tires would certainly improve the racing, but it's the car as a whole. A good race car makes good racing. That's 100% my opinion, always will be. Um, One of the arguments is that some of these racetracks should only have one date. Do you think that tracks like Richmond and others, let's just give it a blanket statement. Do you think all racetracks on the schedule should only get one date?
Definitely not all racetracks. Um, I have liked most recent history of going into a lot more different tracks and stuff. Pocono lost a date. I think New Hampshire's lost a date. Um, Dover's lost a date. I believe a lot of these tracks going down to one race doesn't hurt, but I mean, I think places like Daytona, Talladega, Darlington, um, I think they all deserve a couple dates. Um, Martinsville, um, those are the ones off the top of my head I can think about right now. Bristol, probably you could say Charlotte too, even though technically there are 2 dates, but maybe not the Roval or maybe some. I will probably talk about the Dover topic, but I think a lot of tracks going down to one date was good for them. But I believe there's still some tracks that deserve 2 dates.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Pocono, I'm fine with one date. New Hampshire, I'm fine with one date. Um, Trying to think of some of these others off the top of my head, like you're saying. Daytona, I want 2 dates. Talladega, I want 2 dates. Bristol, I want 2 dates. Martinsville, I want 2 dates. And this has nothing to do necessarily with the racing there because it's not been great as of late, but I still think these tracks deserve 2 dates. Darlington, you could talk me into one there. I don't hate that for Darlington. I think that there's good racing at Darlington, don't get me wrong. But historically, as long as you're giving me the Labor Day weekend race, I don't necessarily care about the spring race as much. I'm okay with it being, just one. North Wilkesboro, we'll see what it turns into, but 1 date's fine for now. I'm just happy it's back on the schedule and it's going to be a points race. Uh, but I guess the argument around the 1 date race, or yeah, whatever, one time a year on the schedule is, well, it draws a bigger crowd to the racetrack if they've only got 1 date. Who cares? I don't care if there's nobody in the stands to watch those races. I don't care who's there and who's not there. You're telling me you think that these racetracks make the majority of their money by ticket sales? I'm sure that it's a huge part of what they make. I'm not arguing that. I don't know what their business model looks like, but TV rights pays the bills. And just show me good racing. If you show me good racing, people are going to watch your program. People are going to watch the product that you're putting on the racetrack. And guess what else? They're magically going to do as a result of that. They're going to file into the stands. They're going to buy tickets. And I'll tell you something else that would help you is if you had practice and qualifying in a 3-day weekend show with Xfinity, Trucks, and Cup, all in, all practicing, all getting track time, all getting qualifying time, like we used to do back in the day, there would probably be a reason to come there and stay there for the whole weekend and have an opportunity to camp and see what's going on at the racetrack. And buy pit passes and whatever else you can end up doing. But because of the structure of the weekend now at most racetracks, that opportunity is gone. So I don't really care about the one event on the schedule. Some racetracks just were never going to be good. I'd never remember a great race at New Hampshire. I think it's important that we go there. I don't think we need to go there twice. I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't care if you ever go to Pocono again. But once is fine. I got no problem with that. And some of these other racetracks, like, don't touch my Bristol. Just give me better racing at Bristol. Don't touch Talladega or Daytona. Just give me better racing there. That's a car problem, not a track problem. Speaking of problems, Dover's going to be the All-Star race next year, more than likely. It's not in concrete yet. Haha, get it? But that's that's kind of the rumor at the moment. I think that if Dover ends up getting the All-Star race, we go to Daytona headquarters and bomb the building.
I don't know about that, but yeah, that would be a pretty dumb decision, I would think.
It'd be a terrible decision. One thing that I heard brought up today is unless you bring temporary lighting in, it's going to be a daytime race. You're going to
Yeah,
have the All-Star race be a daytime race because Dover don't have lights.
yeah, that would be a disappointment. I don't know, just under the lights is kind of what you think about the All Star race. Um, you want a track that gets people running side by side, passing, and sparks flying for $1 million. And when we saw the race earlier this year, it just once the leader got out in front, you couldn't pass him. And it's just and the amount of time it takes to get the track rubbered in, even at the 400 lap, was it 400 laps or 400 miles, or whatever? But it just you're gonna have a shorter race, probably segments and stuff like this. By the time any of the cars would burn enough rubber to make any passing or difference, they're probably going to be a segment over. I just think that would be a bad decision.
Yeah, well, NASCAR is pretty good at making bad decisions, so that wouldn't surprise me if that ends up happening. There's just so many other racetracks you could go to other than Dover. If you're looking for an all-star race and kind of experiment at a racetrack, why don't you do it at Rockingham? I mean, you just had an Xfinity race there. Why can't you have the all-star race there?
Yeah, I listened to Denny's podcast. I don't remember if it was Denny or uh, maybe it was on DBC, but they even talked about the chance at the fairgrounds at Nashville that maybe just doing an all-star race there or something will help maybe get the community to allow it because they're fighting the community mainly or whatever, allowing a race. But um, either that or they make the argument that why make these guys drive all over the place to stay in the Charlotte, North Carolina area? Um, all these open teams got to travel with their trailers and stuff too to not make the race even. So when I say open teams, I mean like the other guys not locked into the playoffs, of course, but or into the All Star race itself. But um,
Right.
yeah, it just to me it's a night race, and at a track that puts on great racing, and Dover hasn't done that. And it might not
No.
be Dover's fault; it may be the car's fault, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. I tell you what the problem is that that track's brushed concrete, not asphalt. That's that's Dale Jr.'s take. Uh yeah, you could talk me into having the All-Star race at Rockingham. You could talk me into having it at Richmond. You could talk me into having it at Charlotte, um, Nashville Fairgrounds, any of that. I would have no problem with any of those things. But Dover is literally near the bottom of the list. Again, might not be Dover's fault, but definitely not something I'm interested in seeing. I agree with you. We should bomb the building. Uh, the, a couple other pieces of news. Matt Crafton going to be retiring at the end of this year. A Truck Series regular, three-time series champion, kind of a staple of the sport ever since I started watching. And I think he is, I'm trying to think, I think he's the last one of the people that were racing on a weekly basis when I started watching the sport. And now that he's retiring, I think that's going to be it. He'll be the last person that was a full-time competitor when I started watching and is now retired. Uh, Denny started. Denny was a rookie in '06. I'd been watching the sport for a year already at that point, but he's awfully close on that list as well. But yeah, I think that Crafton is him and Menards in the Truck Series are just two things that you could always count on.
Yeah, I think I made this comment to you before or whatever, but he was like the last driver left on dirt to Daytona that was still racing the video game, and that was a 2002 video game or something like that. I think Crafton was a young rookie in a truck series or something at that point, maybe a year or two in, I don't remember, but yeah, so he's uh he's been around a while.
Yeah, it's true. O'Reilly Auto Parts is going to be the new title sponsor for what is now the Xfinity Series. Um, I don't know what the slogan is going to be instead of faster than Xfinity 5G or whatever it is. Um, I don't know what the slogan's going to be for O'Reilly Auto Parts, but it's
Oh,
going to be
oh,
weird
so
saying,
fast.
what's that?
Oh, oh, so fast. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Uh, yeah, something like that. Uh, yeah, it's going to be weird saying the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. Um, it's kind of a mouthful. I don't know. They're gonna have to work on that branding a little bit. But again, Camping World Truck Series was kind of a mouthful too when you said all that. But you could always just shorten that up to the Truck Series. And in the Cup Series, you can just always, even when it was the Sprint Cup Series or the Monster Energy Cup Series, you just call it the Cup Race or the Cup Series. And with this, I'm almost ready to just go back to calling it the Busch Series or the Grand National Series. Uh, AAA, whatever, it's uh, and AAA would actually be a great title sponsor for that series, just with all the comparisons to AAA baseball and the Xfinity series.
I still find
But
myself saying nationwide sometimes.
see that's the one that's weird to me. I don't know why that one stuck with people so hard because it seemed to me like it was only the nationwide series for a short period of time, and it seemed like Busch series, nationwide series for a little bit, and it's been the Xfinity series for a long time. I don't know. That's just that maybe I'm misremembering that. That's possible, but it just feels like it wasn't the nationwide series for all that long.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that just still sticks in my head.
So yeah, that'll be interesting. Uh, Dale Jr. brought up something on his podcast last week saying that these lower tier series are wrecking too many cars in overtime situations. Guys are trying to get all they can get, and they end up wiping out themselves and other competitors as well, costing teams hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Dale says we should just get rid of overtime in the lower series altogether. If it's 3 laps to go and you get a caution, too bad, race ends under yellow. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Do you
Um,
think that that's something that should be the case?
I wouldn't mind it. Um, I definitely hate how, especially that Martinsville race played out last year. It just wipe out after wipe out, and you just know they're gonna, especially at short tracks, whatever, they're just gonna drive into the corners and wipe out the guys in front of them. Um, I don't hate it. The more and more I think about overtime and stuff and how it used to be, I just I could care less for overtime anymore. I guess I hate how a restart for 2 laps just changes the aggression. It feels like the guy who was deserving of the win gets wiped out in the end. And I just uh I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of getting rid of overtime, especially in the lower series.
So my thing with this is I don't think it's fair to in a situation like we saw Saturday with Alex Bowman, charging on Austin Dillon. I know he wasn't going to get there and it wasn't a close battle or anything like that, but if you have a situation like that where a guy's coming on fresher tires and you get a caution with 6 to go and it's like, yeah, you probably could have got there in 6 laps, but too bad. You're not going to have a chance to race for it. I got a bit of an issue with that. And I understand that that's how it was historically, that that was just the end of it. Um, but I do agree too that especially at, Daytona, Talladega, Martinsville, like you mentioned, there's guys that just run over each other again and again and again and again, and you have all these overtime finishes, and you just have a disaster. Um, I think that my solution to this would be you get one attempt. If you get one shot at beating the guy on the restart, racing for 2 laps. If at any point after they take the green, a wreck happens, a yellow comes out, then the race is over. Sorry, we gave you guys an opportunity to race it out like true adult race car drivers. You failed to do that. This race is over. I'm good with that. To me, that's kind of the best of both worlds. I don't know what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with most anything. Um, I just when it gets to overtime, sometimes my stomach gets to not just knowing somebody's going to get wiped out that shouldn't be wiped out, and um, but yeah, one overtime or whatever. I just know the definitely a lower series they can get carried away in some of these restarts.
Yeah. And I'd be willing to put that into effect in all 3 series. You get one attempt in all three, even cup. And the other thing that I've kind of been holding back on saying this, not for any reason other than just the debate that it could spark, I think that in all 3 series, you should have, if you're going to have a double file restart, that you should have Delaware restarts. The leader gets his own lane out front. He's the leader. Everybody else is side by side. That way, there's no issue of, well, on the first lap, I'd like to fire off in the top lane, but after that, just like you saw with Kyle Larson and Justin Allgaier at Indianapolis, like Allgaier didn't deserve to get wiped out just because uh, Larson was going for it there. He wrecked and wiped out the leader. If that's a Delaware restart, Allgaier's still in the lead, and Larson wipes out himself in the third place guy. And I don't know. I think that that would be a solution to some of these issues.
I think I made that point on last year's Indianapolis when Brad Keselowski pulled off at that final restart because he ran out of fuel. Kyle Larson pulled up, was able to restart on the inside
Mhm.
line, preferred line, and it screwed Ryan Blaney out of a chance at a win. Whereas a Delaware restart, Blaney would have been the leader and would have started on a lane out by himself and still would have had the advantage over Larson. So I am not opposed to a Delaware restart. I just feel like the leader should have the advantage, and no matter what happens in any scenario.
Yeah, I think that that would be a positive thing, something that they should explore. One attempt at overtime and a Delaware restart for every restart. Start of the race, you can be side by side. I got no problem with that. Like a normal, like you see now, double file restart or double file start of the race. But everything after that's a Delaware restart. Um, we're kind of past this topic, but I figure I'll ask it anyways, as long as we're still on here. How many road courses do you think we should have in the Cup Series?
Um, I kind of like where we're at 6.
Really?
Yeah. I know a lot of people say this is not a road course sport, and or this is mainly oval racing, which I mean, 30 out of 36 races are still ovals, or triangles or square. But yeah, um, I still feel like it should be a mix of disciplines that get you to the final of the season. I don't think we need any more than that. I think we're at a good spot. I just feel like the car itself has put a damper on the style of racing there. Um, Watching some of the old 90s clips and stuff at road courses where cars are slipping and sliding off the corners, running each other down and whatnot. And I feel like these cars are so much more locked down and straight line and everybody that it's hard to really pass and do things. But I just think we have a car problem that probably has ruined the road courses lately.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm great with 6 road courses. I don't want Sonoma or Watkins Glen to go anywhere. You could talk me into 4. I want to see real road course tracks though. Like, I don't want to see the Roval. I'm done with that. I don't want to see the Daytona road course. I don't want to see the Indianapolis road course. I don't want to go there and not race on the ovals. Um, But if you wanted to go to Road America or continue to go to Coda or whatever, I'm good with that. But I think that 4 would probably be my cap. It's just my thought.
Yeah, I'm with
Um,
you on the. Even though I'm a Chase Elliott fan and he has dominated at the Roval itself, just as much as I feel like would be better as a second date for Charlotte, and I do kind of like what they did with Chicago, the street racing, street course, or whatever. That's if they can find that, move it around. I'm curious to see what they do on a military base. Cars racing around a military base, that kind of has me amped up to see how that plays out. And um, other than that, I mean, I like Coda. Road America, um, I like Coda definitely more that they shorten the course. Road America is what, like a 4 mile course, things like that, and the old Daytona road course when they raced on that. I feel like you gotta try and keep these guys on a shorter course, makes the racing better. But any of the other courses, whatever that are out there, I think 6 is the top number that I like, I guess.
okay. Kind of staying in that same vein, do you think that SVG would be this dominant in a different generation of race car? Obviously, being in the next gen car right now, things are relatively equal, especially on the road courses. I feel like guys don't have as big an advantage, and the driver talent is able to show through a little more. There's still a lot of strategy that plays into it. A lot of your qualifying position is relevant, but again, if you're good at road courses, you're probably going to qualify pretty well. And fast guys go fast. That's still a thing. But do you think that Shane would have this much success and be this dominant in a different generation Cup car?
Um, I think he would still be fast and up front and have wins on road courses. Um, he might have fewer. I think some of these guys that had been in the same car for years, whatever, especially with the old car, you had more discrepancies between teams, I would say. Chase Elliott's dominance may not have had the same dominance if he was running for a different team. let's say Trackhouse or Spire or something like that. Um, Trackhouse is pretty much the old Chip Ganassi cars, and um, I mean Larson had some success, but you obviously saw what Larson did when he went to Hendrick Motorsports and like just started railing off wins there in 2021, whatever. He won 10 races that year. And that was still in the Gen 6 car.
Yeah.
So, um, I guess it would matter more of what team he went to, but I still think he'd be up front and winning races. Maybe not quite the same dominance, but I think he would be. I watch him in the Xfinity car, which is essentially a, I think, a Gen 6 car, pretty much NASCAR car anymore. I don't think they had quite the same horsepower the Gen 6 did for Cup, but I'm not 100% sure. Although they still have more horsepower than the Cup guys right now, I think. But um, anyhow, just seeing what he does down there in Xfinity Series, even the only other competition he really has is teammates when he races for Junior Motorsports this year. But I think he still have some dominance.
Let's say the year's 2003. Tony Stewart's in the Joe Gibbs 20 Chevy. Jeff Gordon's in the 24 Hendrick Chevy. And SVG is in the 31 RCR Chevy. They're all running nose to tail with 3 laps to go. Who do you think wins?
I really think SVG could still win.
So you think that all things being equal, he's still the best road course racer out of those three?
I think so. I just feel like he has such a different driving technique to anything anybody in Cup has ever done that it just gives him such an advantage.
Yeah, that's probably pretty hard to argue with. I think he's the best in the sports history. I don't think that there's I really wish that you could create that scenario. Just drop him in one of those cars with 3 to go and see who would do it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
The final thing that I want to talk about, um, you're familiar with Mamba Smith.
I know who he is, but I don't really follow anything he does.
I've I've obviously heard him on Harvick's podcast. I've seen him at the racetrack being the chief hype officer or whatever he's supposed to be. Dude got eaten alive on Twitter after um, his comments this past weekend. The question was, the point of the championship is to crown the best driver. That's the purpose. It means nothing if it doesn't do that basic function, which the playoffs consistently failed to do. So this guy's arguing against our current playoff system, saying that it doesn't reward the best driver for winning the championship. Mamba's reply to that was, the point isn't to crown the best driver, it's to crown the best team who executed the best when the pressure was at its highest and the lights were the brightest. Whew. Um, Dude got toasted for that all over social media. Like, there's 1.1 thousand replies to the thing right now. Uh, People telling him how dumb he is. The championship should reward the best driver of the year, right? Am I insane, or is that's what it's supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know what he was thinking with that. I'm probably in agreement with everything them guys said in them replies. I don't know, but
I wouldn't tie yourself to everything that they said in those replies,
yeah,
but
but yeah, I feel like he's had some controversial tweets and stuff. He's paid by NASCAR to do whatever. And he's there to promote the sport. On a similar lines, Kyle Petty said some things about the race car itself. This is the best product we've ever had, and this and that. And there's another guy I believe is paid by NASCAR and whatever media stuff they do. And I just some of them guys you can't take for what they say just because of who they're working for.
yeah. Thank goodness for the garage area. Those guys that just watch the races and tell you what they think. They're not paid by anybody. Um, yeah, it costs them money to put their opinion out there. uh, yeah, it's insane that's that can't be a real opinion. And if it is, you're so far into the dark NASCAR world that you think that that's um like a real opinion to have. That, oh yeah, it shouldn't crown the best driver. Like, dude, yes it should. That's the championship. That's what it's supposed to do. And people argued that like, oh, March Madness doesn't reward the best basketball team. But it's not the same thing. Like, you're playing a basketball game against another basketball team. There, it's your job to win that game. There's so many variables in a NASCAR race that over 10 weeks, it's not a head-to-head matchup. There's just so many things that have to work together for you to have a good result and can take you out of things so quickly that when you keep narrowing the box down to one or three races at a time, yeah, you're gonna have guys that are good race car drivers, good teams, and have good real opportunities to compete for a championship, have those taken away, just because the format is designed to put some level of entertainment out there for each round.
Yeah. I know if we go back on our road course argument, I think a lot of argument is this is being made for how many road courses we need because of SVG's dominance and how those are themselves has pretty much launched him into the playoffs and with as many playoffs points as he has. When I say I'm okay with six, if we had a point system that worked out the whole year, those road courses would be another discipline that you had to be good at and go through and just work on an average. Whereas they put so much emphasis on the one driver right now because he's just so dominant at them. Whereas like William Byron won the regular season playoffs, that's because he's been good at all racetracks, all disciplines. He's run up front even at road courses, plate tracks and ovals and all of these tracks and whatnot. And um, it just, I just feel like NASCAR in itself is a whole year average of what you've done through all disciplines. You're racing against 43 teams each week. You're not 1v1ing each week. Even throughout the playoffs, and you're racing against nearly 40 teams, even though you're really competing against a couple for the championship. And there's so many variables that can take you out that are not on the football field or the basketball court, whatever, when you're
Right.
1v1. And these guys are trying to make it a stick and ball sport, and that's not what it is.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I remember in 2006, Matt Kenseth was battling with Jimmy Johnson for the championship. Every week, those two cars were fast. Every week, they were going to run in the top 10 and probably the top five, and they were going to run around each other. And it was just a matter of all season long who was going to run the best. And now, like you just, for example, Joey Logano, when we listed off those guys, he was the furthest down the list, and you went, yeah, he can probably still win a championship. And we haven't heard from him all summer. And it's, to me, he should be relevant every week if he's going to be a champion. All of these guys should be relevant every week to compete for a championship, not just um, like in Shane's case, not just at the road courses, or in Logano's case, not just when we turn to the playoffs. Like these guys should have to be battling for top tens, top fives, and being up there every single week to be considered championship material. Well, this is kind of a longer podcast that we've done in a while. Kind of had a lot of thoughts to get out there this week. We should be able to get some good clips out of this thing, hopefully. Uh, and speaking of that, follow us on social media, on X at Garage Area, on Instagram at the Garage Area, and on TikTok at the.garage.area. You can follow my personal X account, AdamWhite_22, and Ryan at RyanWW924. And we'll be sharing all of our um, opinions, both good and stupid, on those different platforms. So make sure to check those out. We appreciate everybody watching. We've got a lot of good feedback lately, most of it from down under in Australia and New Zealand, because Shane Van Gisbergen has actually put us on the map pretty well in those countries. So appreciate Shane and everything that he's done for this podcast specifically. and we'll continue to move forward here in the garage area. Hope to see a better race in Daytona than I'm anticipating it being with a whole fuel mileage deal. Hopefully, we're able to see some good racing, and we're back here next week to talk about it in the garage area. Thank you.